The second conviction of a small group leader, Matthew chapter 8, is be faithful in your leadership. And I think this is this is one of the great challenges, our whole fellowship. You know, the great thing right now is everywhere I travel, and where mostly I'm traveling is in Mexico, because San Diego helps with a number of churches in Mexico, in the Philippines, because we help with the Philippines. Got any Filipinos out there? Yep, there he is. Okay, they're everywhere. Dubai, half the church is Filipino. Jerusalem, there's a Filipino brother. Everywhere you go, there's Filipinos. San Diego, lots of Filipinos. So we help there, in the Middle East. And what I'm seeing is everywhere around the fellowship, it's like springtime. Things are beginning to bud and flourish. And it's because of the faith. The faith of the leaders, the small group leaders, the Bible talk leaders, the staff, it's the pillar members of the church. They're getting their faith back, and things are beginning to flourish. That's exciting. In Matthew chapter 8, there's a set of teachings here. And beginning in verse 1, it says, when he came down from the mountain, large crowds followed him. A man with leprosy came and knelt before him and said, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. I am willing, he said, be clean. Immediately he was cured of his leprosy. Then Jesus said to him, see that you don't tell anyone, but go show yourself to the priests and offer the gift Moses commanded as a testimony to them. When Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him asking for help. Lord, he said, my servant lies at home paralyzed and in terrible suffering. Jesus said, I will go and heal him. The centurion replied, Lord, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof, but just say the word and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority with soldiers under me. I tell this one, go, and he goes, and I tell that one, come, and he comes. I say to my servant, do this, and he does it. When Jesus heard this, he was astonished and said to those following him, I tell you the truth, I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. I say to you that many will come from the east and the west and will take their places at the feast of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the subjects of the kingdom will be thrown outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then Jesus said to the centurion, go, it will be done just as you believed it would. And his servant was healed at that very hour. And you know, there's several more stories of healing, of faithful stories. And this is absolutely a set of teachings here. It's called a pericope, when the Spirit binds all these stories and there's kind of a beginning and an end, and there's a message in here. Matthew chapter 8 is a pericope. It's a set. It's basically saying, have faith, and stay faithful. Stay faithful. Because there's a reason why the example is a Roman centurion. Roman centurion. He didn't grow up hearing stories about David or Moses parting the Red Sea or how Abraham was the father of faith. He didn't hear all that stuff. He saw what Jesus did. He heard about Jesus, and bam, he had faith. And Jesus was blown away by that. He was astounded by it. He said, I haven't seen anybody in Israel. Basically, rewording that, I haven't seen any of God's people with that kind of faith. Where's their faith? Where's their faith? It's incredibly important that we lead with faith. That we lead in faith. That we be the most faithful. Most of us, how many of you have been Christians longer than 10 years? Okay, by far the majority of us. Okay, we've been around a long time. We've seen so many miracles. Haven't we? We've seen incredible things. We've seen people change. We've seen people overcome drug addictions. We've seen marriages put back together. We've seen families that hated each other become loving families. We've seen so many miracles that we can sit out there and somebody stands up and gives a testimony. You know, I was hooked on heroin. I got off heroin. I hated my wife. We used to fight every night. Now we love each other. And we're like, yeah, I've seen 20 more people just like you. I mean, we get used to it. It's not a big deal anymore. You know, and it should be. It should still blow us away. It should still inspire us. Most of us, you know, we grew up relating to the prodigal son, right? Because we were forgiven of so much, and we were in the mud pit, and we were feeding pigs, and we were doing horrible, and then God saved us. But now that we've been around a long time, it's easy to become more like the second son. The one who's critical and comparing and negative and faithless and can't even celebrate when his brother is saved. That's the one that scares me. Because I'd like to think of myself as the first one, but I've been a Christian 30 years now. And you get those thoughts. I've been here for a long time, buddy. Don't look at me like I'm the only one that's ever thought that. You've thought that. And it's easy. Because we know what kind of sermons we like. We know what kind of Bible talks we like. We know which songs we like, which songs we don't like. We become older. And older people, they have figured out what they like. They know exactly how they like their eggs cooked. When you're young, you don't care. You're just happy somebody gave you eggs. Woohoo, But when you're older, you're like, I want it over easy with the yolk just a little bit cooked, but not all the way through. You have figured out your likes and dislikes, right? And it's easy to go by the system. We know the system. You got to have that faith. Jesus said, unless we become like children, we will never enter the kingdom of God. He told God's people right here, look, there's going to be people coming from the east and the west. They're going to be coming all over at the feast, but the subjects will be thrown out. The members aren't going to make it because they lost faith. So many times, Luke just kind of stings us with, of course he was a Gentile, but he kind of stings with, in his gospel, he points out every time there's a Gentile who does something great. And it's always being pointed out. It's the Gentiles. Jesus is always using Gentiles as examples. The Samaritan, the good Samaritan. Why couldn't it have been a good Jew, Why'd it have to be a good Samaritan, But again, Jesus was always challenging them. Okay, I know we're God's people, and I know we've had a lot of faith, but you've got to stay faithful. You got to keep believing in God's power to change any situation. We got to believe that God can help all our kids become Christians. Yeah, but my kid's now, he's 45 and, and and he never became a Christian. You don't know, he may have another 20. If grandma could become a Christian at 78, he might have 30 more years before he becomes a Christian. Don't give up on each other. Don't give up on your kids. Don't give up on your neighbors. Don't give up on your co-workers. So we've got to lead. We've got to lead with faith.